Today I'm joined by Denise Black, who first arrived on the street in 1992 playing hairdresser Denise Osbourne and was last seen on the show during a short return stint in 2017. Denise, thanks for coming on the podcast today.
Hello, it's nice to be here.
Nice to have you. So you first arrived on Corrie nearly 30 years ago when the show itself had just been on air for about 30 years itself. Do you remember what it was like joining an institution like Corrie and stepping onto the set for the first time?
I remember absolutely everything. And by the way, I was down the park walking the dog this morning and somebody came over and he said, "You were Corrie."
Oh, really?
And I said, "It was 30 years ago." So yes, I do remember it regularly. People remind me. So what was it like? Okay. I was breaking it. Of course I was breaking it. I'm a Southern girl. I couldn't, I was told in the interview that I'd got the job. It was a recall. Now I had to go to Manchester. And all they said in the interview was, yes, do a Mancunian. And, I knew she came from Macclesfield.
Yeah.
She was in Macclesfield at the beginning. And I knew very little. There was like 6 lines about her. And so, but I was so joyful. I can't tell you. I was on cloud 9 for at least 6 months. I'm sure I made everyone incredibly fed up with my happiness. But I was that happy that I'd landed this amazing job. And I remember that I was hauled in by the most amazing wardrobe lady called Pam, who took me shopping and everything. She wanted Denise to be matching handbags and gloves. I've never even conceived of matching in my private life. And I was sort of going along all the clothes, touching them all, and imagining a million Denises. And we gravitate towards something. We've got an iconic, it was a leather jacket that the early Denise wore, a green, that she wore a lot, some scars and stuff. And she got a look together. I didn't have matching shoes and handbags. That we let that one behind. And then we went into stage 1, which is where all the actors are.
Yeah.
And it's all check your face and you check your clothes, meet all the girls and wardrobe and makeup. I'm not even filming yet. I'm just getting a character together.
Yeah.
And of course I've got to go through the green room. It was a much smaller affair then, and they're all there. I mean, they're all there. But the biggest one, the one that my eyes couldn't really take themselves off, was Bet Lynch, of course, Julie Goodyear.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big eyeful, in full regalia, little skirt, dress, leopard skin, I don't know, cigarette holder, the glasses, the bling, the huge hair and everything. And there she was, and of course she's not filming, she is Julie in costume as Bet in her downtime. And I desperately didn't want to stare. And my eyes desperately did. So I was dragging my eyes, but at the last minute, my eyes got the better of me, and I turned around staring at her as I walked through the door, and I mistimed it and actually fell out of stage 1 onto the floor. So that is what happened. It knocked me over, darling.
I've seen Denise being described as a character in the same vein as Elsie Tanner. Did you get an impression that that's sort of the character that they were looking for?
I was briefed endlessly that this was not a new Elsie Tanner, so I thought, oh, right, it's a new Elsie Tanner. So, and I studied all Elsie's work.
Yeah.
Obviously, Pat's work,
yeah.
Pat Phoenix. I later have, since I played Pat Phoenix. Things You Do for Love, it's called. It's really, really sweet, with Sue Johnston playing the older Pat and me playing the younger Pat. Anyway, I did study her, and I went to the archives and I studied her when she was young and when Corrie was live. And, just with those fixed, when you opened a door, you saw a screen, didn't you, with a picture of the street or something.
Yes.
But it was fast, the delivery, the banter, it was so fast. And so I did study that, yes, but I wasn't copying her. I absolutely assure you, I was as much glued to all the other great actors and actresses, because what my boss who invented the character, Carolyn Reynolds, said was that she said, look and learn. Because there were these amazing actors in there, and they had been there, Barbara Knox, Selma Barlow, so Rita and Mavis. I never actually met Ken Barlow for a very long time. My character was like in a completely separate part of the street. We just didn't really interface as far as I know. I did stuff with Rich Holsworth and all sorts.
Yeah.
All sorts, also Jack Duckworth. I mean, in the Duckworth That's always value for money, isn't it?
I know. I remember there was a funny scene towards the beginning when you convinced, was it Reg and Jack to come up to your flat? They thought they were going to get lucky.
That was the Comedy Siren that they started Denise off as, didn't they?
Yeah.
Didn't they catch the blokes bragging or something?
Something like that.
That they could all land us. So she got together with, I mean, can you imagine? I'm just like the cat that got the milk. The cream, not the milk, the cream. And also, let me tell you about the entry into my flat. So it's only I'm only been there about 2 weeks or something. I'm so new. You're still new. When you've been there 7 years, you're new.
Yeah.
But 2 weeks, you're really new. And they built Denise's upstairs room, the room above her flat, the flat above her salon, where she was going to entertain Jack Duckworth and Reg Holsworth, and I've forgotten the other guy who came up. But they haven't had time to build a staircase. So all the characters, they're written as coming up the stairs, but actually we're on the floor.
Yeah. And
they've just got a piece of wood, things, it's very thin plywood when you get there, folks, held up by gaffer tape. and they've sort of got the banisters. So the actors have to do that thing, that we all do as kids, to pretend that we're coming up and down stairs.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I met all these great characters. They were hidden behind the piece of plywood. They were bending their knees, and they did that cartoon thing of straightening the leg a bit more each time to make it look like you're coming upstairs to come into my room. That's how they all entered. I mean, I thought I'd died and gone to heaven.
What a great start. But I mean, I suppose, do you think that Denise liked all the attention she was getting from men? Because she certainly didn't enjoy. She certainly didn't enjoy. Well, she got more than she bargained for when Don Brennan came along, didn't she? With those nuisance phone calls.
But you see, it all happened very fast because I arrived, and on the day that I arrived, I was discovered. Pretty much that week, I discovered that I was still married. A second marriage was collapsing with a wonderful John Lloyd Fillingham. So all my early scenes with him, and the sorry thing, I've only just met you, you're fantastic to work with, what do you mean you're going? and then I did loads of stuff with what was her name, Debbie Andrews. What was the name of the character that she played? Deborah Andrews. I did loads of, she drank pints. Yeah, little short girl with the come on Debbie, come online and tell us what the name of your character was.
Yeah, you keep talking, I'm just going to do a little bit of Googling.
No, I think we should leave it there and get people to write in.
Okay. Answers on a postcard.
Is it Angie?
It might be. Was it Angie Freeman, was it?
I don't know.
Never mind. Let's move on. Let's move on. We'll style it out. So you had a lot of time with her.
Yeah. I had a whole load of time before we got to so we had the men, and I had loads of time with that before we got to the Don Brennan story. Okay, the inside behind the Don Brennan story goes like this.
Yeah.
I'm not giving it all away now. So Carolyn called me up and she said, we're getting quite a lot of curiosity about your hand.
Yeah.
And I said, that's fine. She said, could we include it in the story, something? And I said, yeah, as long as it's not embarrassed, absolutely. I said it doesn't have to be the truth either. Do you know what I mean? Don't limit yourself to what you can use it anyway. So she said okay, and it's just as long as it's not embarrassed.
Yeah.
So the next thing is this Don Brennan storyline. Now, how it starts is Don Brennan comes in. Now he's got half a leg, hasn't he?
Yes.
And he comes into the salon. He tells Denise that he feels like half a man. And she says, referring to her arm, well, I've always had this and it's never held me back.
Yeah.
But because I think people were a bit embarrassed on the floor, they didn't really zoom in on my arm and go, this. So nobody really knew what I was talking about.
Yeah.
Which led to my favourite ever letter, and God bless you if you're the person who wrote me this, thank you, who said, I didn't know you had a prosthetic leg. It's a very good match for the other one, and I think you're still really sexy.
Brilliant.
Oh, that honestly, that day I was one of the happiest days of my life. Yeah, no, then there was all that was fantastic.
Yeah.
They closed down. They used to in those days broadcast all over Grenada. what we were filming.
Yeah.
But for special scoops, they shut it down. And the producer came down on the floor and watched, and Carolyn came down, and it was the scene that the Brennans where Ivy finds out.
That was brilliant. I loved it because I was watching that recently on ITV3. That must have been on last year or something sometime, and I really did enjoy that story. So I think I must have missed that out first time because I started watching it around the time that you left the first time, actually.
I remember Carolyn came down and I said, "Oh, you're here," and she said, "Oh, I'd love a cat fight." Because these were great. There you are. So Lynn Perry, who played Ivy Brown, these are great. She was a very fine actress.
She was wonderful, wasn't she?
I learned a lot from working with her.
Yeah.
She gave me a Christmas tree once.
So you talked about Denise being married before, which I think a lot of people forget about, because the main man in Denise's life that everyone remembers is Ken. So how did that come about? How did you feel when you found you were going to get paired up with him?
Number 3. And in Denise's life, well, it came out of. I couldn't really celebrate because it came out of misfortune, Annie Kirkbride's misfortune, because she was found to be ill and needing treatment, and she was in storyline with Bill. So Ken and Deirdre had been reunited in the story. The kiss, and we all applauded, had happened behind the Rovers Bar. You guys have never seen that because unfortunately that story strand couldn't be continued. It was like 6 months in. It's the way they storyline. So they need to carry the Ken story on, but now it's no longer going to be Ken and Deirdre back together again. But they've got the time within the script. What's the new story for Ken? And that is when they just pluck Denise as if from the other side of the soap.
Wow.
And there I was, quaking in Deirdre Barlow's shoes, knowing that this was a death sentence. I mean, you muck with soap royalty at your peril. You might just as well be talking about the other royalty. Do you know what I mean? You are not going to get away with it.
Well, those two were the Charles and Di, weren't they? Ken and Deirdre.
They absolutely were the Charles and Di.
Did you know where the storyline would end up going? That you'd end up having a kind of kid?
We were hurtling into the unknown. It was written at breakneck speed. That suddenly Denise and Ken. There were some early scenes, weren't they? I've seen some of those recently. Denise big hair, I like to think of her. How she came in with all that hair and attitude. I think she got a bit flattened by the relationship with Ken. It didn't go too well, really, did it?
No, it didn't. I mean, and when I was watching it, I kind of felt that she was treating Ken pretty badly. I mean, she broke up with him when he proposed. He didn't put the name on the birth certificate. She dumped Daniel on him, then whisked him back away again.
Did she? Now, it's lucky because my antenna has been down the whole lockdown, so I haven't been able to see any of the vintage stuff. And I think I would have loved to have seen it, is the truth. So I'm pretending that I'm happy about it. But also, one day I'll see it all, won't I?
Yeah.
They were great. So, yes, I found it. She was... it's a rule of soap. I don't know whether it's still, but that if there's a decision to be made, it's incredibly important that your character makes the wrong decision, because therein lies the drama.
True.
When you make a right decision, you solve it, so you resolve the conflict. And Denise was always in conflict.
Yeah.
So, and I sometimes wish that there was more room for the funny stuff. Especially when I was filming a lot of scenes of sobbing and giving birth.
I know you had because you had a miscarriage as well, didn't you? Because Daniel was supposed to be a twin.
And I was so snooty about that. And I said, no, but this would never happen to anyone. No, but not to anyone. Inside yourself. I took it terribly seriously. I got my albums out. I went all through, remembered having my kids and everything, and went and filmed. And it's giddily hard to film something like that and make it palatable for 7:30 slot on telly. And it involved quite a lot of Bill, who's a giggler, had to go off into the broom cupboard quite regularly and think about tax, which is his way of coping with fits of the giggles. I got a letter about that, and somebody said thank you so much. Well, no, actually, I got a troublesome letter.
Yeah.
I think it had happened to somebody.
Mm.
I can't remember. You get some letters really trouble you, and you find this isn't a story. This actually happens in the real world, and you must always take your work seriously, because somebody out there, this is reality, not a story, and you must represent them fairly and honestly. You know, she wasn't a tongue-in-cheek character, was she?
No,
she was
no.
gritty. I thought she went through everything, and I remember I got one, and it was from a lady, and she said, "I can't ever watch Coronation Street again." I think Denise had done something horrible.
Yeah.
To do with children, and she wasn't a very good mum, was she? And,
No.
No, and I can't remember what it was about, but I didn't know how to answer, and I actually scrumpled the letter up and I put it in the bin. And then that troubled me even worse, and I got it and I uncrumpled it. I was doing my fan mail with somebody else who'd helped me, and I just said, I don't know what to say. And I got it out and I wrote, and I said, thank you so much for writing. I'm so sorry that you feel that you can't watch your beloved Coronation Street again. I do hope that you've got people around you who are supporting you through this troublesome time, and that you forgive the show in time. And then I got a letter back saying, thank you so much. The clouds lifted. It was so nice to hear from you, and of course I'm going to be watching it. Now, you know, stuff like that background stuff. That's a pretty heavy. That's a load as well, and one to be borne lightly, because you're the lucky person who's got the job.
So, one of the things that another thing that you remember for in Coronation Street is working at the salon, and that building's still there now. Do you ever look back on it and the fact that it's still going 30 years later and think, I started that?
I absolutely feel completely jealous, and every time I see the front, I say that was my name on there, and there is a stab of that's my shop, and my name should be on that. Audrey, who did she think she was? Just swanning in there and taking over. Just because I ran off with my brother-in-law, honestly.
I think Fiona got it for a bit first as well, didn't she? Because you left her in the lurch when you did the split.
Fiona, eh?
So I think there might still be some, unresolved issues with Fiona, because Angela Griffin made a cameo in Corrie last year, and I'm wondering, if she came back, if you came out, would you like to work with her again? Do you think there could be a bit more to explore there?
Yes, of course there is. I respect the right. I'm not in there because I'm not wanting to go there. It's just the way sometimes the penny rolls and the story unfolds. Yeah. I mean, they brought me in briefly, just jumping a million miles ahead again, not so long ago. Was it 2017? Yeah, I was actually quite pleased with that. I thought that played quite credibly, and I really enjoyed that. You are the woman who abandoned her son, and the nation is in love with her son, or for better or for worse, some like him more or less or whatever, but he's a central figure in their favourite programme, and you're the woman who left him. And I thought that played very credibly. I always enjoy working with Bill. But it is also hard, I just come out of Emmerdale, and there's a lot of feeling that you should not go from one soap to another, and I also honour those unwritten rules. These are sacred characters. They're not. It's not me. Denise Osbourne is not Denise Black. Yeah. She's and how does she age, and how does she handle? I mean, why did she see her son then and not come back? What is her story? She's not okay, is she?
But what you just said there about Denise Osbourne not being Denise Black did make me. Did they name the character Denise after you, or was it just a coincidence?
No, they named it after. I think. She was, when I went up for her, she was going to be a cash girl in the supermarket. Yeah. That's all I knew. Yeah. And then the next thing was, we're thinking of her being a hairdresser with your hand. Would you? And I said, yes, I can actually cut hair. So that was never mentioned again. And then the next thing was she was called Denise.
That's so funny. Did it make it easier or more confusing?
Do you know, when you just landed the job from heaven, you don't actually say, do I like the taste of this manna? You go, thank you, manna from heaven. I'm rolling whichever way you're rolling me, I'm happy. Yeah. I've been trying to keep up with it. The truth is, the fear, huge. Yeah. I make light, it was enormous. I think that the fear that I felt the first day that I filmed, and somebody told me that there were 16 million people watching.
Yeah.
I think that was the omnibus edition, because in those days, was it 2 or 3 a week? I can't remember.
I can't remember, but I think it was probably 3 by the time you started.
I'm not too sure,
you know. I can't remember what the switch was.
No, we went from 2 to 3 to 4 while I was there.
Did you?
In my time. Yeah. I think so. 2 in an omnibus, I think. Anyway, I think the omnibus at that time was getting 16 million. These are huge figures by today's standards. And that thought popped into my head just before they said action, and you can't cope with a thought like that.
No.
How can you please 16 million people? You're bricking it. You know, you're thinking, am I going to get away with it? Trust me, that's all you're thinking.
Yeah.
Will I be able to say this line without falling over? Are my knees going to buckle? Am I currently still in character? What have they just said? I mean, honestly, all these thoughts, they have to go away. They have to shut up, and you just have to concentrate. And you have to just hope that you won't fall over until after the take. It was really that frightening. Genuinely.
Yeah. So going back to your returns to Coronation Street, I always found your journey quite interesting, because you seem to be revisiting the street in 10-year intervals, 97, 2007, 2017. Did you feel like you were coming back to a different place each time, or was it more like you were returning home?
No, after I left, I still visited. Every time I went through Manchester, I would always visit. So it was I still very much took seriously, I think, you must be an ambassador for a show like that. I just don't know. Nobody told me exactly. I was trained by, there was a guy in press then, now 2 wonderful ladies who've been doing it all my time. But when I first started, there was a lovely chap called Peter Mayers, and he kind of trained me. And it was the old school training of how to talk in press, what to say about yourself, what not, how to handle it, what not to do. In those days, we didn't court publicity. I did what I was told. In fact, I received some money for it in the old days, and these days you don't. It's publicity. But I opted to be an ambassador for the show. I felt that was the right way of, because that I honour the show as much as you do.
Yes.
And it isn't just a job for the period of time that you're on the screen. It's given me a career. I honour that. Thank you.
Yeah, I was speaking to Kevin Kennedy earlier this year, and he said something very similar, actually, about how it's still important to be an ambassador to the show even once you've left.
I've seen Kev. My daughter now does wardrobe, and she was doing Rock of Ages. What was it called, Dandy?
Yeah, that was it.
And Kev was and I went to see it and hung out with Kev and everything. Yeah. He was actually wonderful in it, by the way.
Yeah.
I think we're all fond. I mean, I've bumped into all sorts of people out here. Amanda Barry, Sherry Houston. I mean, worked with them as well. All sorts of people. And I think it holds a very special, but also I feel lucky because of the vintage of when my character was invented.
Yeah.
And I think it's right that she should come back at their convenience, if it serves. If it doesn't, but who knows what could happen.
Yeah, very true.
Can you imagine a little white-headed 18-year-old and she's still mucking up?
Well, I mean, it seems that Daniel needs his mum more than ever at the moment. What did you think about Robert Mallard? Because he'd been in the show, I can't remember, about 6 months or so before you came into it. And I straight away thought he was fantastic at being Ken's son. He a bit of a young Ken Barlow, wasn't he? Did you enjoy working with him? Do you think
I loved it. So when I first went, there was a huge picture of Ken Barlow in his, in the very, very early days. It was a black and white. I mean, what a handsome man Bill was. and this amazing character, this incredibly sexually predatory, successful
he was a bit.
bachelor teacher.
Us teachers, eh?
He's so handsome, and I was his 24th girlfriend, I think. And then I met Linus, and that was a spit of Bill. And then I saw Rob.
Yeah.
Now Rob is not the spit of Bill, and yet there's the essence.
Yes.
So that when you go to I mean, of course, Robert is a different person to his character, Daniel. He's not at all. He's got a rod of iron, you know. He's a strong actor to work with. I mean, the mood that comes off of him, he will improvise as well, which is almost unheard of on Corrie. There's very little room for that, but he was given a lot of scope, physical scope, so, you know, like he was allowed to move instinctively around the set on some of the scenes that we did, or he just did it, you know, like he would just be in different places. And usually you rehearse and then that's fixed, and now you've got the camera script and it's fixed. But Robert put in some looseness, I think, into Daniel, which gave him edge and danger.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it was that Bill had all those years ago when he was the young Ken. But if you go back to those early vintage stuff, which of course I have, I've been back through all of them. And that's how I was trying to, by the way, build Denise. I wanted her to belong in the first, like, obviously it's a different era, but I wanted to feel like that. They were strongly marked, strongly demarked character. They had very strong opinions or not, or, you know, they in a place within the street. And it seemed to me that was the key thing to work out. Denise Osbourne, okay, one of the things I had to think about was she must look like she could do Rita or Bette Lynch's hair. That was a defining. So my hair, I couldn't be, you know, straight back in the ponytail, not think about it, and be this kind of, I thought she's got to have big hair. So I loved going and doing the scenes with, don't forget, it wasn't just with Rob, it was Bill and Rob.
Yeah.
And there was always an electricity between me and Bill. I don't know what it is. We work well together. Although he's changed very much over the years. And I've been lucky. I hope they have me back. It depends how long Rob wants to stay, you know.
Oh, I hope they keep him for a long time. I hope he wants to stay for a long time. I think he's great.
Yeah, well, I hope so too.
So Bill has been in the same role for 60 years now, whereas you've had such a varied career. You've done TV, music, theatre, stage musicals. Are you still the sort of actor who's always keen to explore these new roles, or do you kind of feel that you might like to settle down into something more long-term now?
What? No, oh, you change as you get older, sweetheart. I'm not going to ask how old you are, but I know that you're not as old as me. And I would like to act all my life.
Yeah.
I have actually, we're not saying this, but we're filming this sort of on the tail end of lockdown, isn't it? It's a weird new normal that we're in. But the fact is, we're on a phone. We probably wouldn't be meeting. You know, people don't meet as much anymore, and we're socially distanced and everything. And how I feel at the moment is I just came out in a movie. At 60, I broke into movies. I got a really good part in a movie, The Last Tree. And even now I'm picking up, I've got a really good series that I've got a guest on, Unforgotten, that I'd love to come back, that hasn't come out yet. In fact, I might not be announced yet. And I've got a movie that I'm going to do some post on next week. And I've got a short movie that I'm making in lockdown, you know, one of these Zoom things. And I've got another, you know, so I am enjoying the variety. But yes, there's a part of me that would just love to, because your energies change. And I feel that now I could play a character for longer. Yeah. But that me back then, I didn't feel that I had much choice. I had young children. I didn't get to spend that much time with them because I was actually in storyline pretty much for, I mean, it was 2-3 years. It was ridiculous how much Denise was used. It was amazing. Amazing roller coaster ride. But there wasn't a lot of time to see the kids, and I, of course, wasn't a local girl. So it was quite hard for me, and I have got this, I don't know what it is. When I signed for 20 months, and I was happy for 6 months. I mean, honestly, I was on cloud 9. And when I renewed at 20 months, I had a funny feeling, oh, I know what I'm doing for the next 12 months. And it was diminishing returns. And there must be something antsy about me that wanted to dare, I don't know, to dare to leave and try it on the outside, even though everybody said it was, you know, suicide. And there's a level that it is. Yeah. But I think playing the same character I did 400 Sister Acts, playing Mother Superior, Sister Act the musical.
Yes, I heard
And
that.
I thought, right, okay. When I took the job, I thought, if this doesn't kill me, nothing does. There are various jobs. If you could survive soap and do some good acting, if you could do doctors and learn the lines, and not look wooden, if you can do 400 Sister Acts, this is how I measure whether I'm
And that being in Maggie Smith's shoes as well.
Oh yes, absolutely. I know. Well, don't think that I didn't. She was on my shoulder as I played her. Of course she was. I could do the same as her. She's a goddess, but and I'm very different. I do like my work, and but yeah, I'm not finished with Denise Osbourne as far as I'm concerned.
Good.
She's an unknown quantity. You know. Ideas in envelopes, please.
Well, look, I wish you all the best with whatever comes to your way in the future. It's been absolutely lovely speaking to you this afternoon, Denise. Thank you so much for coming onto the podcast.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.
No worries. Good luck. See ya.
Bye.
Bye-bye.